you gonna do, brother? We about to run wild with a style like no other. So somebody call Brodus Clay mother and tell her Richard runs to the men like Ed Lover and Doc Dre. What Scott say, what they hang on every word like it's something that the Rock say. No JR, but they talking wrestling. We bring the noise with the boys, so we Dalton Castling. So masculine, oozing machismo, mutton chop shop, Gran Turismo. No free throws, snarl hoops and heels. It's D-Roz retirement, give you the super feels. Straight shoot, it's real. Drop a pipe bomb, get ready to bull like the Rock's right arm. So stay calm, tranquilo. I'll go Naito and give him Destino. And we know that you chumps ain't ready for the heartbreak runs and the Cuban Genetti. They drop it heavy, tag team it like Teddy. Long go strong with the heat like Eddie. So steady like when Taker walked the tightrope. Spaz like Taz with the mic in a tight choke. Dirtiest player in the game with the eye poke. 1988 Macho Man on a line of coke. These other cats are a waste, they boring. Illegitimate sons like Jason Jordan. And Richard Runz never give him respect unless they going on air with a broken frickin' neck. So bounce like Papa Pump's pecs. Every time they get down, they bound to catch wreck. Y'all don't know nada, they the Okadas. You're the Washington Generals, they the Globetrotters. A whole lot of podcasts in the scene, but Richard Runz running wild is the cast of your dreams. So it seems these two is too sweet. Bullet Club pulling up with schemes to delete. So retreat, we steal, we cheat, but I never lie, I swear on these beats. And these two got some styles for you, but what you gonna do when they run wild on you?
Do you want to let everyone know that you get it? Do you not want to be a Melvin? Well, then listen to the Running Wild podcast. And if you don't, you know what you are.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Running Wild Podcast. I'm your co-host, Rich. Alongside me, as always, my co-host, Runz.
Yes, sir.
All right, before we get started, I just want to remind you that we're brought to you in partnership with pwponderings.com, rohworld.com, Last Word on ProWrestling.com, and we're featured on the Wrestling to the Max network. All right, episode 101. We got a big one. We are covering the Summerslam weekend, our live perspective about the NXT show, and we have a very special interview with ROH star Matt Taven, who will be competing in the CMLL Grand Prix tournament coming up on September 1st. All right, so let's just start off, chronologically, really the biggest thing that, for us this weekend was, in person, we got to go to NXT, and after all the beach ball talk and people trashing the Brooklyn crowd because of their lack of attention almost to the matches, it seems that we made the very intelligent decision to go to NXT.
Yeah, NXT, the fans are there to get into the show, whereas the fans who go to SummerSlam or to the Raw after are there to make themselves part of the show. And, everyone who was at NXT was there to watch the matches and there to cheer for the good guys or boo the bad guys. That's what everyone was there for, and that's what everyone did. And it was a lot of fun. Of course, we'll get into later, certain appearances and things like that made it that much better. But just the crowd as a whole, was so much better than the Raw or the SummerSlam crowds. We talked immediately like how happy we were that Cesaro ran into the crowd and popped the beach ball because he was obviously just pissed that that was happening during his match. So then on Monday Cena encouraged it, but whatever.
Yeah, fuck Cena. It almost makes me hate him for being like, I love when the fans bring beach balls. Like, come on, man. Like,
what are you doing? Now they banned it. Like, you idiot.
By the way, I may just be on the outs of my house right now for bashing Cena because Cena's such a good guy. He helps kids and their families get through stuff. So,
I watched that video. That was incredible.
Yeah. No.
For anyone who hasn't seen it, or for anyone who's still too stubborn or whatever, refuses to accept, go watch the John Cena video with the Cricket Wireless when he reads all the cards from the kids who, it's so crazy to me because, we love wrestling, right? Like, we really, really love wrestling. But never in my life would I, like, tattoo something on me, right? Like, you see all these people with, like, Finn Balor's face on them or something like that. And I've never been like, man, John Cena, never give up. Like, that's my fucking life motto. I don't know, man. That's crazy to me. But super dope that it helped all these people get through, something really serious.
I mean, I followed the Demandments when I was growing up, so I mean, it kind of makes sense. I definitely took my vitamins. Like, I would take extra vitamins because Hulk Hogan told me to take them, and my grandmother would yell at me and say, "You're only supposed to take one." And I'm like, "But Hulk Hogan tells me to take my vitamins every day. Like, I gotta do it." I'm glad I never made a decision to get a tattoo of that, because then things would be awkward now. And really, I've made bad decisions on who I backed in the past, so I don't need to put like party harder, party hard, wrestle harder, and a picture of Marty Jannetty, and then the Rockers break up, because I clearly always pick the wrong guy. So I don't need that kind of stuff in my life or on my body somewhere. I would have backed the wrong guy. Who came up around the same time as Cena? I would have picked the person like Heidenreich.
You would have had you would have had a chain with a lock tattooed around your neck.
Oh, fuck yeah, word. I wouldn't have gotten Never Give Up. I would have accidentally gotten Word Life.
I saw, like, Finn Balor tweeted a picture the other day of this woman who met him at a show, and she had his demon face tattooed between her breasts. Why? Like, why would you do that? I don't. That's crazy to me.
I mean, people make weird decisions. I can't. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. God bless you. Hey, I'm all for it, but man, wow.
But
that's dedication.
That video was definitely a tearjerker.
Oh yeah, that was terrible. It was absolutely horrible.
When I started to watch it and I started to get a little emotional, you were here. I got super excited and ran over and showed it to Statwife, and oh man, it couldn't have gone better, because I think that she started crying before he was just reading. Like, he just, like, the kid hadn't shown up. Like, he just started. Like, he started the first, second line.
Him just reading was sad as hell, because like you see him getting emotional.
Oh, breaking news! She's crying now. As we talk about it, she's actually crying thinking about it.
That shit was fucked up, man. That was emotionally wrenching.
I think that was tougher than Connor.
Connor was tough, but like there was like 8 different stories right there.
Yeah,
so
imagine the full
rough.
package. She only saw that one kid. If we would have showed the full video,
oh yeah,
I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah, that was rough. But yeah, so I mean, anyone who doesn't understand John Cena, just watch that video and you'll get, there's more to just wrestling for some people.
Yeah, but the beach ball stuff, I really...
Yes, back to the beach ball.
That's really what it was.
That's really annoying.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, some people say you pay, you get to do whatever you want. I mean...
No.
It's like...
Incorrect.
When you go to... If you go to Broadway...
Exactly. That's what this is. It's a Broadway show. Continue.
You go to a Broadway show, and during the middle of it, you just light up. You just, take out your beach ball and start hitting it around the theater. You're gonna get kicked out.
You're gone. See you later.
Yeah, you're out.
Get there.
Like, if I would have done that during Book of Mormon, like, that's not only would a divorce be in order, but like I'd be kicked out of the place.
I don't even think you could do that like at a baseball stadium. Like, I think they would kick you out.
Now, I've seen it at Met games, but to be fair, like, it's Met games, and I think like the crew there understands that Met fans need something, so they just, whatever. But I would get angry when I was at a Met game, and they would start like the wave when it's an exciting moment of the game. Like when it's important.
Yeah, that's just...
I would get annoyed. Like, I'm fine when you're losing by 10. Whatever. Do it then. During the tag team... Of all the matches to take the beach ball out during, to do it during the tag team title match seemed just kind of insane. And I just think speaks to the fans that are there. I mean, and the truth of the matter is in terms of entertainment... I think that wrestling is the form that requires fans to react a certain way almost. to be part of the show, right? But
And
they're doing it the wrong way.
Well, that's where fans feel entitled, because wrestling is so dependent on a reaction. Whether it's boo, whether it's cheer, whether you're booing the right guy or the wrong guy, it doesn't matter. But some type of reaction, right? Like, it's predicated on that. The guys are doing things in the ring to tell you a story to get you involved. So when that doesn't happen, it kills it. You know, we've both been in arenas where, last year at SummerSlam, for an example, when the fans crapped all over the Universal title, which, hey, where's all that hate now? But the fans crapped all over the Universal title, and it ruined Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins for the Universal title for me. The Universal title wasn't important. It's a freaking prop. It doesn't matter. And to shit all over the guys in the ring because you don't like a prop or because you're bored with the match, that's not right. Like, I get, like, offended by that, you know, and I'm there to have a good time. I'm there to enjoy the show just like everyone else. But you're ruining the show for me. So that's not fair.
Yeah, it literally makes me not want to go to, like, right. I'm never going to go to SummerSlam again. And I'm never
I wouldn't say never, but
okay.
Beach balls are banned, so, you know, we don't have to worry about that.
I'm not... I don't want to be part of those shows.
Wonder, like, I really think that if I was there and the beach ball came to me, I would just pop it. Be like, watch the damn match! And I would just do it. It's necessary.
I would have grabbed it and tried to pop it, and then it wouldn't pop, and I'd be angry and hand it to you. So you would have popped it no matter what. Because...
I'm just like, it's just, that's not that's not your place, you know. You don't have to do what WWE wants you to do. That's fine. You can cheer for the heel if you really want to, or whatever. But find a way to get into the match. You don't like the match, then whatever. Sit there and be silent.
I don't know.
Don't take out a beach bowl. Don't chant for the announcers during the match. Like, that's completely disrespectful to anyone who's in the ring and any fans who are not participating in that.
Yeah, I don't want to tell people what to do, but we've talked about it with Evolve shows, you know.
Well, we've talked about it with, like, WrestleMania and the show, the Monday after Mania and all that. You know, to each his own. Yeah, everyone's entitled. You pay your money, you have your ticket, but think about everyone else that you're ruining the show for, who also paid their money, or for these guys who are putting their bodies on the line to perform for you, and you're just shitting on them.
All right, so that's how we feel about the fans. So what did you think about the NXT show?
Well, and that brings us perfectly back to NXT, because the fans were not like that. And, you know, I said last week that I was going to NXT with the anticipation and belief that one Adam Cole was going to be there, and they did not disappoint me. You know, the only thing that I can, like, remotely, and I'm not even complaining because it's, like, my own fault, but the main event, I couldn't get into it because I knew Adam Cole was coming out. Like, it just, I said to you before the match that Kevin Owens was out there watching this match for one reason, because it makes no other sense other than he wanted to watch one of his closest friends debut for the company. So I knew that was coming. It was obvious. But, you know, it was a great main event. I couldn't get into it because I was just like, yo, you know, and the other problem was I really like Rude and I really like Galloway, McIntyre, whatever. So I couldn't really cheer one way or the other because I didn't care who won. You know, it literally did not matter who won that. I didn't have more of a preference either way. So
did you rewatch
that
the
was
match?
Tough. Of course.
And so that's I feel like that's your live reaction, but I feel like a lot of people are saying, and I didn't get to I didn't rewatch it. I'll be honest. But I feel like a lot of people were saying that the match was just kind of bleh anyway.
But it was okay. Like, it was a match. Like, it was a good wrestling match. There wasn't any crazy spots, or there wasn't anything, crazy that went on in the match. But it was a very good back and forth wrestling match. I really enjoyed it. Once I watched it back, I didn't dislike it live either, but I just was awaiting what was surely to come.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, for me, it's weird. As much as I like the matches, first of all, where we were sitting was fantastic. There was amazing 360 selfie guy who would just kind of get into it. I love getting into somebody around me who's rooting for somebody who I'm not rooting for. So this guy's rooting for Almas. I thought he was like an idiot. Why would you be rooting for Almas? I mean, come on. Clearly, Johnny Wrestling's going to win this match. And boy, was I fucking wrong. But I love that match. I mean, it really had me like hooked because I don't know. I was really invested.
I mean, like, Johnny Gargano is so good. It's crazy. Like, that guy is amazing, telling stories, getting you involved, making everything believable. He's so smooth in the ring. The future is so bright for him. It's not even funny. But Almas has been great with Zelina, and this was a tough one to predict going in because they both kind of needed a win here, and it makes sense for the heel to cheat to get the win and push Gargano further. Gargano right now, his character is that kind of like guy in denial. Like, no, I don't like that girl anymore, but they're secretly, he still feels some type of way about it. And he's trying to brush off this Ciampa stuff, but it keeps coming back to haunt him, and he's really not over it. And I love that story. That's a great story to tell.
I mean, the number one heel in the company right now, in my eyes, is Zelina for throwing. She could have thrown anything at him. She could have done anything to distract him, but she throws the fucking DIY shirt in his face. What a bitch! Like that legit. Nobody's a bigger heel for me.
And that's what makes it so brilliant, because of anything, if she would have thrown anything at him, then that reaction of like, just like stopping, nah. But because it's the DIY shirt, like, you understand the emotion that's going on in his mind while he's looking at that shirt. So it made it so much better, and it was a great move. And like you said, that was such a good match. Amazing back and forth. 3 or 4 times that I thought each guy was going to win. Out of my seat. Yeah, great match. Perfect way to start it off. Awesome match in itself. Just can't wait to see more from both of those guys, and that's a great job by them.
I don't like when my guys lose, but so in the moment I wasn't very happy. But looking back on it, I mean, the fact
in the
that
moment, I believe it was, I'm leaving. I'm done. See you guys later. Forget it.
I literally got up and left the seats after that match. But looking back on it, there's nothing better for me than getting so into something that I'm surprised by the ending. And, that's kudos to Almas and Gargano for doing that. I'm trying to think of the other things that stand out for me.
Well, I mean, next we have the Authors of Pain and Sanity, and this was a match that, going into it, I was kind of whatever on, but like there, you could feel a kind of intensity before the match started, and that really helped. And then once the match started, I was hooked. Everything they did, it was such a great brawl. It spotlighted Nikki Cross's craziness, but still her brain being, somewhat there.
Yeah. That
she was able to outsmart Ellering and then hit the dive and, get Oreo squished through the table, which was just insane. That match was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it.
It was really good. And what probably made it more exciting was the crowd being into it and being behind Sanity. I think that made a big difference. If you look, give us. You put that match on Raw, and you have a beach ball going around, and suddenly that match does not come off the same way. You know, and
right. Or if that crowd was just silent.
Yeah, it speaks to how this is a perfect example of how the crowd can make a match much more important. So
right.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I loved, like Killian Dane being out there to start it off and get his licks in, and then Eric Young, changing it up, and now he was the fresher man, and he could get in there, and I really enjoyed that. I loved Sanity. It's going to be cool if they use the Freebird rule. I would love to see Nikki Cross defend the title at some point. That would be sick.
Oh, man.
So that would be, it's going to be a lot of fun. I like that title change.
So we didn't see a title change in the women's match, and now we have this awkward situation where apparently Asuka broke her right collarbone, so now she's out for 6 to 8 weeks. But now there's not another so are we going to get a Naomi situation where even though she doesn't have to defend it for a while, like what are they going to do with the title?
I really, 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 really don't know, because you can have a Naomi situation where you kind of just say, like, hey, listen, this woman has earned this injury time. Like, she has not been beaten. She has been the champion for 510 days. I'm not going to strip her of the belt. Or you can strip her of the belt, and that gets it off of her without her being pinned or losing, right? But I don't know that you want to do that. I don't know that Asuka giving up the title is the right move for NXT, because whoever beats Asuka, that's going to be a sick moment. That's going to be something special. And I really want to see them build up to that. And it really, really sucks that she got hurt, and we'll talk about the match more in a second, but it really sucks because after TakeOver, you wanted to see where they were going with that, what they were going to do, how they were going to build to someone beating her. Both times that she faced Ember Moon, she had to use the ref and kind of cheat. So did that set up a third one, that now we're not going to get for a little while? But I don't know.
And when do you strip her? Considering that, like, every day that goes by is another day on her reign, right? If you're going to strip her, like, do you theoretically do it as soon as possible, or do you let it go the 30 days, kayfabe, and then strip it because she can't defend it to give her more time so that eventually, like, somebody else is going to break this record, right? Like, Asuka's not going to have it forever.
No.
So
yes,
now
she will.
You think so?
Are you kidding me? Like, who has ever come close to this? No one, ever.
Well, I mean, New Day went really far. And...
Yeah, that was a tag team. Nobody really cares about that shit.
All right.
And New Day beat Demolition, and then they lost. Like, there was never a thought of them, and that was because Demolition shit on WWE and sued them. Yeah. So, I mean, like, Asuka is just dominating because she's a beast. Like, it's not because of anything else.
So the match itself, I was really into it. I mean, I thought it seemed like it was going to be Ember Moon's moment.
It seemed like it could be, but from the very beginning of the match, I was cheering for Asuka. I was rooting for her. Man, that match was so good, and it's really awesome that, like, we went to the first one and we saw Bayley and Sasha, like I said last week, and now we went to this one and we saw Ember and Asuka, and they were two of the best matches I've seen in my life. They were freaking awesome, so it was a lot of fun. It was a great back and forth brawl, a war. I loved Asuka taunting Becky Lynch with his disarmer and just crazy. Smiling, Asuka's character is so good, and just like her being the cocky champion is really added another element to her.
You watched me actually get one over during the match. I was originally rooting for Ember Moon, and then I switched and started rooting for Asuka right in the middle. It's good times. No, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You know, if you haven't seen it, definitely. I mean, this entire show was great.
Are we gonna talk about? Is that spoilers to talk about what happened beforehand? Because that's technically a taped NXT show.
No, I mean, I don't really know that there was anything that happened there that is necessary. I mean, the Progress guys were there.
That's what that was cool. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. You know, that's another thing that I was hoping for to see, and we got it. So that was good. I freaking love Pete Dunne. That guy's the man, and it was fun to see Tyler Bate and Severn and Wolfgang. You know, it was nice to see those guys because when the hell have I ever seen them? So, you know, I respect the This Is Progress chant, but I also laugh because, like, no, this is NXT. This is not Progress. So I respect the shout out to these guys' home promotions, but hey, they're in NXT now. Let's hype that up a little bit because that's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah. At the same time, though, it's one of those things where I mean, guys, when did ECW shut down?
That's not the same thing.
Okay, but I'm saying like you still have guys who, when they come out, they're despite being WWE, they people chant.
So how come when it was Adam Cole, nobody chanted ROH?
Because I think everyone was just waiting for Baby.
Yeah, but like
literally, I think
it's just a thing you don't do. Like they're not working for Progress at this current moment, and I get it. Progress is a much smaller company than Ring of Honor, and to get their name out there on TV like that's awesome. I'm not saying anything against that.
Oh yeah,
it's just funny to me. Like, no, this is NXT. Let's chant that.
Yeah, but that was cool. I liked seeing them. I liked seeing Dunn come out and everything. So that was pretty dope.
Stunning for Wolfgang to pick up the win.
Oh, that was. I didn't know that it was shot for TV. I thought that was just a match that we were getting, dark matches, whatever. So, but now that you found out that it's taped for TV, maybe it makes more sense. It kind of makes more sense because then you're elevating Wolfgang, right? Like he can say something.
Right. That's what this was about. Was Bate has been there. Yeah. Dunn is the champion, so he needs to fight someone else at some point, right? So you got to start making different guys more important. So that was fun. It was just surprising.
Yeah. So what do we have left? The title
Alistair,
match, right?
and Tommy.
Oh, Alistair. Oh, that was, man. Alistair is sick.
So this is the only thing that I hear people saying, like, oh, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, or it wasn't as good as it could have been, whatever. But I think that's because we're looking at it in the bubble. Like, hey, this might have been the worst match on the TakeOver card, but it was still one of the best matches of the weekend. It was a great match. Both guys were phenomenal. This new heel of Tommy is great, and another loss is just going to add to his anger. And Aleister Black's presentation is sick. Has anyone else ever got a band to play them to the ring at NXT? I'm not sure about that.
I mean, definitely not NXT. This guy, I didn't think they were going to push him like this. I'm a little surprised, actually.
Yeah, I'm stunned because you never know, how these unique guys are going to translate. But Triple H knows what the fuck he's doing. And I think that's what this comes down to is he knows when there's someone like Tommy End or Aleister Black now who just kind of stands above everything else. He stands out, and he's so unique. He's so good. It makes perfect sense to present him that way. And it's a great job by them in doing it. I've heard talks that his name is already kind of mentioned as, potential call-ups, and that, to me, just speaks volumes because he just came in, basically, and now he's already on that short list of guys that are in the next set.
Alistair fucking Black. I mean, that's a little harder to say.
Doesn't work.
No, it doesn't really. But
I tried to do the Tommy end, but nobody joined in. So I just had to do it one time because that chant is one of my all-time favorites, so it needed to be said. But yeah, it's a lot of fun seeing him as great as he is on NXT.
Oh yeah, no, he's been great. Tommy was great in his role too, so I thought it was just altogether a great show. I really enjoyed it.
And the Tommy is so good, and he is such a. It's so easy to hate him when he's playing this role, so it makes it that much better.
So, and the other great thing about the show was that it was short.
Well, but of course.
So that's just makes it that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, that was it, right? Nothing else happened on NXT. Oh, well, I mean, I guess we would be remiss if we didn't mention that Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish came out to attack Sanity and Authors of Pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of sets up them in the tag title picture, right? They made their statement on the tag scene, and now, obviously, we talked about the main event and our opinions on that. So now the aftermath. After, in case anyone didn't see it, which I think that would be zero people who listen to this, Galloway, McIntyre wins. O'Reilly and Fish appear in the corner and kind of just like smile at him. And, from where we were sitting, we saw Adam Cole come through the crowd, but Galloway kind of looks over like, what the hell? And then out of nowhere, Adam Cole attacks, and we set up an entire new era of NXT.
Yeah, I mean, first, is there anything to the fact that Cole didn't do the Adam Cole Baby until it was off the air?
No, because in watching it, as soon as he's there, Nigel is like, Adam Cole Baby! And Morrow is screaming Adam Cole, and so it's fun.
I mean, I'm surprised they're so. You're just gonna have Cole go right into a program?
Yeah, with Drew McIntyre, obviously.
And then Red Dragon just goes after Sanity, or
Sure.
were they just there to? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have to go after a tag team, right? So that's fine. And, I love Drew McIntyre, but, like, for Adam Cole to win the NXT title and Red Dragon to win the tag titles at the next TakeOver wouldn't surprise me, and I wouldn't mind at all.
When's the next TakeOver?
I don't know. Usually it's one every 2 months, but something like that. I think they did one before Survivor Series last year in Toronto.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So, I mean, it wouldn't shock me, you bring Adam Cole in like that to make a statement, and this group to make a statement. So, what better statement to make than come in and win the title and show their dominance? But, it could be a situation where Red Dragon is banned from ringside or something, and then we get the debut of Dijak at the TakeOver, or, something like that.
Did you hear? So I'm skipping around a little bit, but so it's tied to NXT. But so Rude appears on SmackDown, and
Sure.
apparently there's still more. There's still more to come.
What do you mean?
Like I was reading information that basically, maybe Brian tweeted it, but somebody basically was like, I have, there are more people there. I have more surprises to bring out, but it's they didn't want to do too much in one night.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what we've been hearing, right, with the shakeup and all that. So it makes perfect sense.
I wonder if Dijak goes to NXT or if he goes up or what.
He's 100% going to NXT, at least for a little while. I think you could get definitely Authors of Pain. Maybe if she wasn't injured, Asuka, Aleister Black. those guys are going to be your call-ups, and then your ROH guys, hopefully your Cassius Ohno, your Tommies, those guys are going to be the next crop of NXT.
Wow, I just can't believe it's everyone we've been watching, man.
Well, I mean, that's why when people are like, "Oh, what company are you going to watch? Like, what the hell is Evolve, or what the hell is this?" Like, well, this is why we go to Evolve. This is why I watch the PWGs. This is why Ring of Honor, New Japan. I'm not going to mention CMLL. This is why you watch those companies, because when these guys get signed, you know who Adam Cole is, you know who Gargano is, you know who Hero, Tommy End. So it's a lot of fun to watch these guys literally a foot away and high-fiving them and talking to them, that kind of thing. And now, they're big stars in WWE. It's a lot of fun. It's fulfilling as a wrestling fan, when you get to see that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't watch minor league baseball, and I'm not somebody who follows college football, so I don't really know like who's going to be good unless ESPN tells me they're going to be good, I guess. So it's very cool to kind of experience this, because I normally don't, unless I have the video game and I know who's in the minor league system for the Mets. That's about the furthest I would go before.
Yeah, and it's, like you said, we're not minor league baseball fanatics, so I guess if I'm going to, the Cyclone Stadium and getting Joe Schmo's autograph before he goes to the Mets, then maybe that's a big thing. But, the person, I don't even know how to say it, the closeness, the proximity that we get to these guys, and the like in-depth conversations or that kind of stuff that you learn about these guys, it makes you feel like you know them, and it makes you feel like you're closer to them than you really are when they're, on TakeOver or on Raw or SmackDown, etc. Like, we were, the biggest thing for me ever is Kevin Owens and El Generico. Like, literally the first time we saw them, like, I picked Kevin Owens, you pick El Generico, and, like, we never thought either one of them were going to be on WWE. And, like, Kevin Owens, Universal Champion, Sami Zayn has been so good ever since he got there. It's a lot of fun when that stuff happens.
Like, I'm super excited that I have all these old shirts, because
Right.
I legitimately thought he was funny and wanted to support him,
That's what makes it cool.
All right, so how do we tackle SummerSlam?
I don't know. Like, what did you think of SummerSlam? Because, like, there's a lot of people saying it was good. Personally, I don't think it was good.
That made
we saw the death of 3 wrestlers.
3?
R.I.P. Baron Corbin, R.I.P. Rusev, R.I.P. Enzo.
Well, okay. Enzo, well, he's reborn now, right?
He jumped out of the shark cage made a big deal of it to fall down and get kicked in the face and be knocked out. That's a message. That's not... First of all, when is a babyface ever in the shark cage? Never. No. And then he puts on this whole display to get out just to get kicked in the face and then have his guy lose the match.
Yeah, I mean, but now it's crazy. He's going to be a big part of 205 Live. And
now he beat Big Cass.
And Cass is injured.
It sucks, man. We'll get into the Cass injury. I mean, I guess whatever, we might as well talk about it now. But it really sucks. Torn ACL, like up to 9 months. Eesh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's getting better on the mic.
Yeah, I mean, it it's not a good time for him to be getting injured, right at the start of his whole singles push, and obviously it was going to be a good one. So, that's unfortunate. It's something you never want to see. So, hopefully he gets back and he's better than ever when he comes back.
All right, so let's see. I mean, I like the show. I thought the main event. See, I think what it is. I think it's hard for me to separate the main event from the show itself.
And that's the beautiful part of when there is a good main event, is that's the last thing you see, so that's going to be the last thing on your mind. But there was a couple of good matches. The tag match was good. The main event was phenomenal. But then there was other questionable finishes that kind of took away from it for me. I have no problem with Jinder winning and retaining the title, but for it to just be one Colossus and just the lackadaisical Singh brother stuff, it was just like, oh, come on, at least make him hit 2. At least let Nakamura kick out. Let's build these guys up in the losses rather than just kind of, oh, that's it, he got cheated, he's done.
So it feels like if the show started at 9, from the 9 o'clock point on, I think I would have enjoyed it more.
And that's the other thing, man. This show started at 5 o'clock. I was watching the pre-show at 5 o'clock. So I was watching 7 hours of wrestling, 6 hours of wrestling, whatever the hell it is, after NXT and with ROH that weekend. And it was a lot. So maybe that was part of it. Maybe it was just kind of the air was out of it. I don't know. It's tough when you're at NXT and it's so good and the crowd is so into it, and then it's the opposite on SummerSlam, and it's weird. It's a weird dynamic that they have.
I mean, should they just make it 2 nights from now on?
No.
So, what do you do?
Are you kidding me? You're gonna have 8 hours of wrestling in 2 nights?
But
no fucking way.
So what do you do? Do you just not include everybody?
No, you just keep doing what they're doing. It is what it is. You want to have everyone on the show in some way, that they didn't have any matches on this show that shouldn't have been there, right? There was nothing on this show that you can look at and be like, well, why the hell was that on there? So that's a good thing. That was a good job by them. They had however many 10, 11, 12 meaningful feuds and stuff going on. So, hey, kudos to them. But the execution of some of them wasn't where we wanted it to be. And, maybe that's just a personal thing. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I expected better from some things, and we didn't get it. So that kind of, let the air out of it. I knew Baron Corbin was getting crushed. That was obvious. But, again, the one attitude adjustment, that's a joke. He ran into it, got attitude adjusted, done. What does that say for Baron Corbin? Why do I care about him?
I mean, if it's not, if that's not the case, they're just trying to bury him, then I don't understand what they're trying to do with him.
Oh, they're clearly trying to bury him. Or just at least punish him, send him a message.
But okay, it just seems so sudden.
I literally just think, his Twitter stuff, whatever the case, I don't really know the in-depth details of that. But just on the mic in the ring, maybe he hasn't been living up to what they expected or their standards. And I can't say that I disagree with that, because I was a fan of Baron Corbin. I did enjoy what he was doing, and then it kind of hit a point where it was like, whatever. And maybe they feel the same way. So, I really don't know. It's stunning that out of nowhere you have this complete change up, but hey, it is what it is.
What else sticks out from the card? I'm trying to think.
New Day Usos was great.
Yeah.
I really love that match. Both of those teams are fantastic. They're both on a roll right now. They're clicking on all cylinders. The heel Usos, the new music, all that stuff is phenomenal. I love them winning the titles. I thought that was great. They should be the champions right now. They're the best thing going in that tag division. New Day is great, but the Usos are on another level right now.
I mean, the amount of title changes was unbelievable. No, I mean, I'm happy the Usos won, and I'm happy. I guess like it's interesting that Natalya wins, and I guess it's great that Neville won it back so quickly, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tozawa was one of those cases where it was done to pop the crowd, and it was a great moment. I enjoyed it, but like I said, we've talked about it off air. I loved what Neville did since he lost that title, and just being a dick and being a heel everywhere he was. I thought it was awesome, and for him to lose it, right, and kind of snap, even though he was already snapped, I loved it, and I have no problem with him getting that title back, and now someone else has to come challenge him for it. Neville is the best thing on the Cruiserweight show. Everyone else is basically a babyface, so, I'm sure they'll build up some more contenders.
All right, I'm trying to think what else there is. Oh, well, contenders we're going to have. Right, we're going to have Enzo now. He's on 205 Live.
Yeah, he called called Neville soft, and I'm hoping that Neville just destroys him as well.
Well, why do you send him down there just to give Neville the rub? Does Neville need the Enzo rub?
No, you send Enzo down there because you don't want him anywhere good.
Then why don't you send him to GFW?
This is another clear punishment. So he's down there to be punished, not to beat Neville, not to win the Cruiserweight title, not to be the focal point of the Cruiserweights. He's there as a punishment. So I don't see him getting any wins or a lot of wins anytime soon.
I mean, do you think more people watch 205 Live now?
Does anyone watch 205 Live?
I mean,
I was more inclined to watch 205 Live.
Oh, you weren't, but do you think some people who are like Enzo fans are like, all right, now I'm going to watch that?
No. Enzo has not been good. Like, these past couple promos, his promo at SummerSlam, the crowd did not care. Like, they couldn't have cared less. And I thought that was very telling that, at some point we knew his shtick was going to get old, and maybe he hit a roadblock.
I just can't believe it. If you would have asked me last year, what will Enzo and Cass be doing in a year, I would not tell you that they would not be a tag team anymore. And Enzo would have been embarrassed in front of his home crowd and then be sent down to 205 Live so that only his boys were probably ringside when that show aired.
I don't know, man. And if, like, part of his punishment is because, like, he's so braggadocious about his partying and that kind of stuff, like, that hasn't toned down at all on social media. So if that was the message that was being sent, he hasn't gotten it. So I really don't know, man. Like, Enzo is an entertaining, charismatic guy, but there's some weird rules and stuff in place in WWE that you kind of got to follow. And if he's not doing that, then I don't know, man.
Did you hear? Was it? I think it was on the ROH pay-per-view that the Young Bucks were announced as 412 pounds, and they're both announced at 206 pounds.
That was on the PWG DVD. That they were at 206 each, and then Nick Jackson took the mic and said, "That's a pound over 205."
Okay. I knew I watched it somewhere this weekend. We watched a lot of wrestling recently, so. All right. What else do we want to discuss on SummerSlam? Do we? Are we good?
I mean, the women's matches were okay. Natty versus Naomi was the better match, and I didn't expect that. that it was a lot better, I think, than Alexa and Sasha.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, again, it's just so many title changes. It makes it anticlimactic for me. So it was just a little odd to see both women's titles. Did you see clips of Naomi? Like, people are saying that before the match, like as she was being introduced, basically, she was like really kind of. You could see she was displeased, like before she held up the title and everything. Like it was kind of a giveaway that she was going to lose.
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I mean, me neither. But I think people are making too much of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, maybe she was just serious and ready for the match. Like, I don't, you know, you could always look back and pick out things that you can make sense. So, whatever. If she was, then oh well.
All right, so that's basically SummerSlam. I mean, you guys can write.
Well, the main event.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was just absurd. It was everything you expect from these four guys. Braun was the man in this match, and he destroyed Brock. And you know, I'm very, very happy to see that people might complain. You know, why the hell are we doing this at No Mercy? This is WrestleMania. This is SummerSlam. This is Royal Rumble. Whatever the hell. But you got to realize this shit happens, and people get injured. Or what if they wait to do this match at WrestleMania and nobody cares about Braun come WrestleMania? Right now, Braun is the hottest thing that they have on Raw, and it would be stupid to wait and waste any time. Just have this title match, let it mean as much as it's going to mean, and we'll go from there, hopefully with Braun as the new Universal Champion.
I really hope that's where they're going. I'm scared that they're gonna, you know, I've heard reports or whatever, read reports. Of course, they're all just rumors, but that the plan is Brock versus Roman, which I think is for WrestleMania, which I think is just crazy.
That's what they've been saying for like a year. So who the hell knows?
Like, have Braun, if you want to put it off, have Braun come out at a Rumble and just eliminate like 25 dudes. Like, just have him go ape shit.
But you know, I think, well, they're having the match at whatever the hell the next pay-per-view is for Raw. So we'll see. You know, we're gonna get that, and time alone will tell who the champion is. But I think if they feed Braun to Brock, then he loses some of his mystique. He loses some of that. Well, he loses a lot of that. You know, he's been pinned now by Brock and all that kind of stuff. So I would love to see Braun come out of there with the win and the title, and we go from there. The only way that I'm accepting of anything Roman Brock is if Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose come out and beat the hell out of Brock, and that's how Roman wins. Like, that's the only way, is if it's the reuniting of the Shield. Which, if that would have happened at SummerSlam, I would have been ecstatic. Like, if they would have just came out and beat up whoever, you know, and gave Roman the belt, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah, that's the only way I would have been happy with it. That would have been crazy. I mean, it was... A lot of people were even, like, conjecturing that since Seth is wearing the red and black now, and Roman's wearing red and black, now all we need to do is get Dean to change his tank top to red. And any chance
the black wasn't good enough?
Yeah, well, just with like a red highlight or something, maybe red.
He
jeans.
had a black and red hoodie on when he came out.
True. All right, so now Raw, I guess.
I mean, we pretty much hit the high points of Raw throughout. I mean, we got John Cena and Roman Reigns in the same ring. I enjoyed that promo. Kind of seen like I didn't come here to talk, and kind of throwing his mic down, getting ready to fight. Roman doing the same thing. I enjoyed that, and the Miz coming out was great. It made me tight, right? So that's the exact point of why the Miz is coming out of there. Like, that's why, because for everyone who's like, oh man, I can't wait to see this, the fucking Miz? Are you kidding me? That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
He's so good at what he does. It's crazy because somebody put up I forgot who it was. Some wrestler tweeted out like a picture, a video of Miz's like very early promo, like his first promo ever, when he was like hosting the Diva Search, and it was terrible. Like it was. When
he messed up, when he had to read his
it was
wrist.
Terrible.
That was on something because I watched the same thing.
And they basically just, the comment was, put your practice in, and you can go from this to what Miz is now, and it's crazy. No, but I thought that was excellent. I was a little tired from the weekend to really get into both shows. I was excited to see Rude come out on SmackDown. I thought that was really cool. It kind of got spoiled for me because somebody had put up look, did I think it was going to happen? Yes. But was it still a little bit of a spoiler to have somebody put out a picture of his, like, them testing his intro, his entrance before SmackDown? So I was like, it took that moment where you're not sure it's going to happen out of the picture for me, but I'm still pretty excited. I just wonder if he's going to go back and, he's got to face Roddy, like we were talking about yesterday. So I don't know when he shows up again, if it's on TV or if it's on the next takeover or what.
Yeah, I really don't know. I would assume it would be on the next takeover if that's going to happen. I threw out the idea yesterday of how cool it would be if Roddy came up, on SmackDown, because I don't know if you saw the video after NXT when Rue was like, "Come on, get my stuff, get the car, let's go, let's get out of here. I don't need this." And then Roddy's just kind of there and like blows him a kiss and says, "I'll see you soon." So it would be fantastic if Roddy, stalked him to SmackDown. But I just don't know if they're ready for Roddy on SmackDown.
I don't think so either. Somebody's got. They do need to resolve that in some way that doesn't make him look like he just let stuff go.
Right. He can't just move on. There has to be some type of conclusion.
All right. So I guess that would be. Oh, do you want to talk about briefly the Ring of Honor show?
Yeah, sure. But we also had Shelton Benjamin.
Oh yeah.
Return on SmackDown, and he was apparently there. He's going to be a tag team with Chad Gable. I don't know if that's going to last past next week or whatever the case, but I'm kind of okay with that. Like that's it makes sense, right? Like they're America's greatest tag team or the world's greatest tag team, and American Alpha. It makes sense. They're both wrestlers. Chad Gable was like, "Oh, I'm from Minnesota too. Did you know that?" But the size difference in Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin was remarkable. And we've talked about since the day we saw them. We saw the world's greatest tag team wrestle. I think it was Rhett Titus and Kenny King in Ring of Honor, and we were blown away by how humongous Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas were because they weren't big guys on WWE TV. So now to see him come back to WWE and he's still towering over his potential tag team partner, oof, it was alarming.
But is he that much bigger than Jordan then?
I really don't know how big Jordan is. Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's pretty crazy. Well, I'm happy to see him back. I'm glad because, there was the reports that he was coming back and then he got injured, so I'm glad they still kind of followed through with it, and it seems like at the perfect time.
Right, and it's if they go with this tag team thing, maybe it's the perfect place. Maybe they have a nice tag team run and then they move on where Shelton puts some guys over on the singles career. So it's perfectly fine. That's what a guy like Shelton Benjamin should be doing, is giving someone else the rub, putting the spotlight on someone else, putting the good matches on. So it'll be fun to see him back.
I would imagine it's just what's it called? The world's greatest tag team. Like Haas just comes out and they just say it's Gable, and Gable's like, wait a minute.
Well, that would be a great storyline. If he was just like, you know what, forget about Chad Gable. Like, I don't want to team with this guy. Call Charlie up.
For half a second, I thought you were talking about my son.
Yeah, call up baby Charlie. But this is kind of what Gable was going through at NXT, right? Where he couldn't find the tag team partner, and then he finally found Jordan. So maybe we'll get something similar to that if, maybe this won't work out with Benjamin and he'll go looking for someone else or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean...
I love weird tag teams forming, so it's perfectly fine. Throw some random guys who aren't being used together, and let's do this. Sami Zayn and Ty Dillinger.
Well, I hope so.
Well, since you didn't really pay attention to SmackDown, did you see the backstage with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn?
I think I must have missed that. What are you talking about?
All right, so Kevin Owens is looking for a ref, and he goes up to Sami Zayn. He's like, "Hey, just the guy I was looking for. I need someone I can trust, and since you really haven't done anything since you've been here, maybe you can finally do something important and referee this match." And it was just fantastic.
What a fucking asshole!
It was great.
All right, so let's touch on what did you think of the Ring of Honor show, the iPay-per-view? So they had three nights in the UK. They were in London the first night, then they did Liverpool, and that was the iPay-per-view the second night, and then the third night was Scotland.
The second night, the iPay-per-view was a Ring of Honor show. That's really all you need to know. It was good matches, but nothing meaningful really took place. It was just kind of a night of wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I actually heard your voice in my head saying, nothing really changed. And you were completely right. I mean, nothing, right?
Yes, sadly I was. It's always my biggest problem with Ring of Honor lately, man.
But here's the best part.
Some of these shows are just...
Here's the best part. There were 3 shows. There was a title change. But it wasn't on the iPay-per-view.
Yep.
I don't...
And, if they just switch everything, it makes the third night make so much more sense, right? If you have the Young Bucks and Paige beat the Castle and the Boys on night 2, and then on night 3 you can have Paige against Castle or something, and then you can have Castle come out and challenge Cody and say, "Hey, your Bullet Club boys cheated me and they did this, now I want you." Otherwise, he just comes out, tells Cody, "I want to fight you," throws the 6-man tag belt to the side and challenges Cody. Literally right when I saw that, I texted you that Paige and the Bucks were going to win the 6-man titles, and that's exactly what happened the next day. I don't know, man.
Nothing is more upsetting to me than somebody disrespecting a belt. Granted, it's just a prop, but it's one...
And I get it.
Go ahead.
Like, I get why he did it, but it sent a bad message.
The belt's not even a year old yet. You have to keep it important. You can't just brush it off that way. It should mean a lot more. The Kingdom, I thought, did a really good job of making a big deal about how that belt's going to be really important. And I think that the Briscoes and Bully did a good job of elevating it. As much as I didn't like it at first, but they were. I don't know.
My whole thing is like you're dead on with what you're saying, and it was the way he said and did it, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like he just said, "Hey, I'm the 6-man champion, but you know what? I want that Ring of Honor title too." No, he said, "You said there's nobody left." He looked at the 6-man title, literally threw it to the side, and then said, "No, I'm here." So, what the hell, Dalton Castle. And that's kind of where you were going a little bit is like Dalton Castle's a singles wrestler, right? So he's not a 6-man. Like he shouldn't be a 6-man champion. He shouldn't really care about being the 6-man champions. But the Kingdom, the Rebellion, those kind of groups, that's what they're striving for. They're a group of 3 or 4 guys. They all want to be the champions. That makes perfect sense, and that makes the title mean more. When you have, it's the same thing with tag teams, right? When you have real teams competing, it makes it seem more important.
And now the Young Bucks have both the 6-man and the tag team titles.
Which, that's okay, because they're a group. They're a real team. The Young Bucks should want to be every tag team champion. That's pretty much what they do. So that makes perfect sense, right? It gives them something to talk about as a heel. It gives them something to talk about as the group. You know, it gives the Bullet Club something. And maybe they lose one. Maybe they now they're the other one still. Whatever the case. But maybe they have Freebird rules and other people start defending it. You know, that's where it should be.
Okay. I still think that division needs to be strengthened. I mean, you know, we just had the best friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent, team up, which is great. All right. But then they go over a team that's constantly in ROH, and we don't know if they're going to be back.
I'm sure they will be, but you know, I think with what you were saying about the Briscoes and Bully Ray, I think that holds 10 times as true for the Bucks and Page, right? Like, these are guys that are going to bring eyes to those 6-man titles, and maybe they defend them in Japan and whatever. But I also think this speaks to kind of like Ring of Honor's rush into this thing. Like, why do they need a 6-man title? They don't have, you know, stables galore. They don't have all of the, like, New Japan, there's 7,000 stables. Like, that's why, you know, the 6-man belts they have multiple tag titles.
Yeah. And
they have all that stuff because there's a lot of teams. So ROH doesn't even have any tag teams, let alone 6-man teams.
Well, we'll see moving forward. I mean, who do you have challenge? I guess the Young Bucks.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I mean, it seems that Bully Ray and the Briscoes are trying to go back for the titles.
Yeah, but they just lost to Trent, Rocky, and Chuck, right? So you got to figure that that's a logical contender at some point, because they already beat the champions when they weren't the champs. So now they have a guaranteed reason as to why they want them and why they deserve them.
All right. I can get down with that. I'd like to see them.
But, like, so then do they just win again and, like, that's it? Who knows? Yeah, I think, you know, the Bucks and Page, I think, should hold on to these for a little while and let them defend them and let them be the champions for a long time, so that you establish these belts as meaning something. You establish them as, you know, some history. Look, the Young Bucks, the Bullet Club, was the 6-man champions for 9 months, a year. You know, what's the harm in that?
Imagine Paige ends up winning the TV title, and then they have everything.
I guess. I guess they're transitioning. Yeah, I would rather see Marty hold the TV title, but I guess they can transition him into the main event.
Oh, Marty could do it. Yeah,
Paige takes over the TV.
Because Paige has been kind of rearing his head in the matches,
right.
So it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. A lot of it, I think, was to mess with Dalton Castle, and maybe that's over now, now that he's challenging Cody. But, yeah, I don't know.
All right,
Is there any chance that Dalton Castle beats Cody?
Not now. I think this is a build. If they're gonna do it, you do it at Final Battle. I think.
But, like, you can't have everything happen
in a Final Battle.
Final Battle.
But it's the Final Battle. There's nothing after that. They don't have another show.
Yeah. I get that. I don't know.
Well, speaking of Ring of Honor, and actually speaking of trios,
before we finish up that, who is there to challenge Cody? Like, who's what could a final battle match be with Cody? Like, who's lethal?
There's a part of me that thinks it could be Marty at some point.
That would make sense because
I think that Rhodes might get kicked out.
Or
of
maybe it's Omega.
I don't want to be crazy right now, so I'm going to leave Omega out of this. And I think that it's kind of like the U.S. brand of the Bullet Club. You have Cody being outed, right? I mean, will the Young Bucks? I mean, if we're going to bring in being the Elite in a way, will the Young Bucks be happy that Cody killed Masa? Maybe that starts being a problem.
Maybe.
Right? I mean, legit, they love Masa.
I mean, right, and, the stuff with Cody's wife and Omega and Masa, and maybe they are teasing all that tension, and Cody saving Tama Tonga and all of that. So, I mean, maybe Cody is on his way out. Why? I really don't know, but maybe that's coming sooner than later.
Because he killed the Asian superfan.
But, like, where does he go then? Then he's just Cody? I mean, he's just by himself? I don't know.
I know. Part of me is excited that I don't know the answer to that. Like, I just want to watch how it plays out and hopefully enjoy it along the way.
Of course. We're just speculating on what the hell could possibly...
maybe they start elevating people. I mean, if he's baby, you could have Martinez. They've been kind of slowly.
But he hasn't been a babyface. He's not a babyface against Dalton.
Yeah, well, that to me is very confusing. So we'll have to see how it plays out and how that match plays out. And maybe this match with Sonata, was an aberration. It's something that's not supposed to matter. So like that's not what they're going to build off of. I don't really know.
and that's the one that you put on iPay. So I don't know.
Well, we were previously speaking about the trios. One trio that's been strong in Ring of Honor, and they actually just recently got. I really liked the way TK Orion kind of came back. We were watching the show, and you were actually commenting about, hey, isn't this guy already back? And he gets into the ring, and he goes to attack Jay with a crutch. And, Jay kind of like barks him down to the corner and he begs off. And then I love this, just looking at the camera, smiling, kind of like smirking, and gets up and attacks him, that he's all healed. And, off that news as well, so we got a chance to sit down with the leader of the kingdom, Matt Taven, for an exclusive interview about his time in Ring of Honor, actually about his injury and about how what it was like to watch TK Orion go through an injury that kind of derailed him in almost a similar manner. And, of course, about his participation in CMLL's Grand Prix tournament. So we'll be right back. I hope you guys enjoy the interview. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome to the show right now Matt Taven. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. How are you?
Pretty good. So you must be a little tired. Last night you participated in Dalton Castle's Boys' Night Out in Chicago. How was that experience, and what's that all about?
Yeah, I'm a little bit tired. I got in. I took the red-eye flight home last night, so I landed back in Boston around 2 in. So, I'm still kind of waking up here, but no, it was incredible. Dalton and myself have been friends since he started in wrestling. I mean, man, going back years, I think when he first started in wrestling, we met, and we just have such similar kind of senses of humor and personalities, and we're very lighthearted, especially in the locker room, and it turned into one of those things where we ended up, spending all we'll ride together to these indie shows or that indie shows, and then finally when he got a Ring of Honor, we're kind of travel buddies where, we'll room and ride together and spend the majority of our time on the road together. Our wives and girlfriends like to make fun of the fact that we're weekend boyfriends with one another. We always just seem to have, all of our time spent with one another when we're, on the road, and to the point where I'll start telling Dalton stories of stuff that happened at a show or something. He was like, I was standing right next to you when that happened. Like, we hear all the same stories. So, So we came up with this idea of kind of doing like a variety show type deal. I mean, Dalton has been wanting to get into stand up, and it was such a weird thing how it kind of all got started when you do so many long drives in wrestling. Just to kind of entertain ourselves, we would start telling jokes and then kind of keep it going off the joke that the first person said, and just try to see how long we could do this. And back in the day when Maria and Mike were still with us, it usually was kind of the kingdom in a car with Dalton Castle traveling from town to town. And we would just get on these little tangents. I can remember one time in particular, us just starting to sing every song that was on the radio like Randy Newman. After about 2.5 hours of that, Maria was ready to be like, all right, just drop me off on the side of the road. I'm done riding with 2 Randy Newmans for 3 hours. But, to us, it always cracked us up. So we started to kind of, when we're on the road and in the hotels, a lot of times it's tough to kind of get out and see the city or do things because you fly in, you go to check into the hotel, you go to the show, you try to find something to eat, and time flies. Before you know it, you're already on a flight home. And me and Dalton would always make it a point to try to go explore, try to see like a site that we knew, is, like a touristy thing in the city. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of the night, when all the boys didn't want to go out, we started to have these ideas of like, all right, well, we'll host like little parties in our hotel room, and we'll have like themed parties and stuff like this, just to kind of, break up the monotony of traveling. And one night we decided to make everyone, you have to wear your bathing suit, and then you have to come meet us by the pool. And we set up like this whole sound system, and we played like a trivia game with music and stuff like that. And it kind of just turned into us just kind of hosting a little show for a couple hours, and all the boys loved it. And we kind of looked at each other like, I think we might have something here. So when the opportunity came up to actually do it live in Chicago, we're friends with Martin Morrow, who's a fantastic comedian out in Chicago. He's been working with Second City forever. He jumped on board as well, and so we booked a room at North Bar in Chicago the past week, and we were like, let's go for it. And it was, to me, it was a success just because it was so much fun. And we're looking forward to maybe doing it, everywhere we go. Hopefully, I mean that's kind of the goal. But it turns out the show turned out to be, Martin doing some stand up, a couple of skits with the Louisville arm wrestling or Louisville Championship arm wrestling promotion, and then Dalton did some stand up, and then I came out and me and Dalton did a little bit where we read. Or read the comments on Maria Kanellis' Instagram, because people just leave absurd comments on. Yeah. And then we just banter back and forth, tell some stories, and then play that trivia game, and it ended up being a blast to the point where we kind of had to wrap things up because we were going long, just having such a good time. But I mean, night one was a success, and hopefully we can keep the ball rolling from there.
I mean, you guys have had the chemistry. I mean, even back when he was doing, I believe it's the Traveling Tights.
Yes.
His little show. You were on that, and you guys had great chemistry there. So, and he's not really from the Boston area, though, right? You guys must have met.
Yeah, we met. I mean, doing like kind of Northeast Indies. Actually, there was a company in like upstate New York called 2CW, which is where we first met. So he's from the Albany area, and I'm from Boston. We're 4 hours apart, and we're actually trying to. I think he actually might be heading this way tonight. So like, we're not the closest in area, but we try to link up as much as possible. But as far as doing shows and stuff like that, we have the privilege of traveling so much with Ring of Honor and whatever else we do. We can kind of set like all right, we're going to be in town, we're going to be in this city, why don't we stay an extra day and then do a set, at an open mic or whatever the case, or book a room. And so I think that's where, this is really going to be able to take off. and at the same time, we're constantly texting and talking to one another. So we're trying to figure out something so we can come to a town near wherever anyone wants us.
So, it must be it sounds like it's fantastic that you guys get to do this together. I was listening to, before we came on together and started this interview, I was listening to some of your past interviews, and there was one right after you'd won the Ring of Honor Television Championship. And you actually spoke about the guys in the area that you'd like to see in Ring of Honor one day, and you mentioned Dalton Castle and Vinny Marseglia.
Yeah.
So and then fast forward, that was, 3.5 years ago. Now you guys have all gotten to work matches together. I mean, for the Ring of Honor 6-man championships. What did you have a hand in picking out Vinny and TK O'Ryan to be part of the Kingdom, or was that just kind of happenstance?
I mean, the Kingdom was completely, my call, and the guys that were coming in were on the recommendation of me directly, because the original, or I shouldn't say the original, the previous incarnation of the Kingdom was guys that were legit, buddies, and the chemistry that me, Cole, and Bennett had, whether in the ring or doing promos or out of the ring, was real, because we were, really as good of friends as you could be. And so I wanted that chemistry to be the same. And I have personally known Vinny since day one for me in wrestling. We both trained at Spike Dudley School together. And then TK O'Ryan, who, is a former college athlete, came into Spike Dudley School. And he was one of those guys that, immediately we all hated, because we knew he was going to be so good, because he was just a natural at it. And and when I first got into wrestling, everyone hated me as well for the same exact reason, because I came from an athletic background, and it just seemed to click really quickly, and I wanted it really bad, and I spent every moment I could trying to make it happen. And I could see the same thing in TK, and TK's only 3 years into the business. Yeah. And it was just one of those things where once we met him and saw him, and it was like, oh my God, this is like me 5 years ago. And then when he started hanging out, because me, Vinny, and TK all live in the same general area, it was like, oh man, he is one of us. So he literally is kind of the same person. It was like, when I was out with my knee surgery, I was still, making just appearances here and there, and they would be on most of these independent shows with me, and it was just instant chemistry, like it was with Bennett or Cole. And when it was time to create that Kingdom, it was a no-brainer for me that this would be the team. As far as Dalton, me and Bobby Fish, I'd like to credit would be in the one that was like Dalton Castle, Dalton Castle, Dalton Castle, and we told him, do the Ring of Honor camp, because that's kind of where everyone gets their foot in the door these days. I mean, myself included. Vinny and TK also, I told them to do the Ring of Honor camp as well. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt that, people are going to bat for them behind the scenes. And it's funny, because I can vividly remember, Vinny, Dalton, and Biff Busick being the guys that I'd constantly be like, these guys need to be here. And Biff obviously is having success down as Oni. Yeah, there he is. He'll always be Biff to me.
Yeah.
Down in NXT, but I would have loved him in Ring of Honor as well. But I couldn't have been happier when Dalton, got into the Top Prospect tournament. And I remember me and Fish sneaking out to watch Dalton's first match in Ring of Honor. And when the cape came out and the pop from the crowd happened, I was like, well, I think the mission's complete here. I think he's a shoo-in at this point. So and it's just you can tell guys that are just charisma machines, and Dalton Castle, he's a star, and to have him on our side, to have him at Ring of Honor, just helps everyone else out.
Oh, 100%. As I was doing my due diligence, I was also reading an article about, when you were just coming back from your knee injury. And it just made me wonder, what was it like to watch TK kind of go through the same thing. Pretty big match, and then during the match things go haywire.
It was crazy in the fact that it's such a war, so many things are happening. It's a whirlwind at once, and you're running around. You're obviously worrying about your friend. And during the match, when I was in the ring looking out at him holding his leg and watching it kind of blow in the wind back and forth, I knew it wasn't it wasn't good. And it's not till later, when you're in the hospital, or when I finally got him back to the hotel before we got him on the flight back to Boston, where you sit down and you're like, wow, this is spookily similar. But at the same time, it was great because TK, he comes in to Ring of Honor. He's on top of the world. You can just tell how excited he is for everything. And then all of a sudden, boom, this happens. And, coming from being in that same spot not too long before, you really just there's no light you see at the end of the tunnel. You're like, oh, what has happened? You know what I mean? Why did this happen now? Of all times. And it's just, it gets to you. And, it obviously got to TK as well. And to be able to sit there and be like, look at, man, no matter what happens, life will go on and you'll be back wrestling, and it sucks right now, but it's going to be fine in the end. And I think it helped him a lot that he could see an example of that right in front of him. Mm-hmm. So, and for me, having to go through that whole thing, it was almost reliving a nightmare a little bit,
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, this can't be happening again. At the same time, I'm telling TK, you know what I mean? All right, we're going to get started with this rehab, yada, yada, yada. We'll be back in no time. So it's a double-edged sword, because it's you can literally put yourself in that position. At the same time, since I'm back wrestling, I can put myself in the position at what it's like at the end of the whole process. And TK, after a little bit, and after he finally got back home, because it was a nightmare, the hospital situation in Vegas was an absolute nightmare. And thank God, we live in Boston with such excellent, medical care here, because finally when we got back home, they were able to take care of him and kind of give us a better sense of what was going on with his leg. And then from there, what I mean? It's as soon as we know what's going on, it's all right, everything moving forward is to get you back in the ring. And being in that process and knowing what it was like, it's an easy call for me to be like, all right, this is what J2's like. Here we go. We're going to keep on moving. And, TK's an athlete, and he'll be back in no time.
And one of the things that I think sticks out is he's been around, whether it's the VODs or television, and that's, I think, one of the things that speaks to, I think, his dedication was, it wasn't just, television tapings. I saw him with you guys everywhere, really. I was down in Baltimore, and I remember, him crutching it up, trying to go to and from the venue, because he was still going to be part of the kingdom there. And I think that keeping eyes on him was great. You had the opportunity of joining commentary, which I thought was fantastic while you were injured. You just came off as a really effective heel commentator there. How much fun did you have sitting in the commentary booth while you were injured?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it's like you were saying, when injuries happen, the worst thing that can happen is staying at home and becoming stir crazy. Mm-hmm. I can remember blowing out my knee at Final Battle, and I went to the doctors, and I could have sworn I was going to be okay. And every doctor kind of kept looking at me sideways I don't know, we got to wait for these MRI results. And right after Christmas, I finally got the MRI result, and the first doctor that read it to me told me I wasn't going to wrestle for the next 2 years, maybe longer. And I remember sitting there kind of what, how is this happening? Because I was going to the gym and riding the bike before, I got this MRI results, and all I could feel was a tightness in the back of my leg, which ended up being my meniscus that shot out of my knee and was lodged in the back of my leg, which was something that the surgeon that actually finally gave me the surgery was like, I've never seen anything like this. So I was running around trying to tell myself I was okay, just because I didn't want to miss any time. You miss time in wrestling, it feels like you're forgotten instantly. Mm-hmm. And I can remember sitting there watching the Tokyo Dome show with my leg up, knowing I was a week away from surgery, and seeing all my friends, walk down the aisle in the Tokyo Dome, and that was tough, man. Like that was a really tough moment. I remember kind of like, I can't watch the rest of this show. I'll watch it tomorrow. And for TK, I told him, I was like, hey, if you want to go wherever, if you want to go to an appearance, anything, you know what I mean, I'll come get you, because I know how much this sucks. And to TK's credit, even before he was, should have been moving around as much as he was, he was, hopping in the car and going wherever we were off to next. And it's in wrestling, I feel like that's almost needed, because you need to stay in people's minds. And so to be able to do commentary, for me, it was like a dream come true, because I could be, my character and get all the points I wanted across and kind of have fun doing commentary. And it's something that I'd like to, do when my wrestling days are done. So, and with stuff like the Boys Night Out, the Dalton Castle stand up there, like I've always loved just kind of having the mic in front of me and talking and being entertaining, and to have that opportunity was fantastic. But the biggest thing for me, it was just it was keeping me off the couch and keeping me from going crazy at home, wondering what everyone else was doing. Or like I remember there was a couple of Ring of Honor shows right after surgery where you're seeing the results, or you're seeing things on Twitter, and you're just looking at this giant hose connected to your knee, and you want to just rip everything out and try to get to that show. But you're stuck. You're stuck in this big contraption that they got you in, and it's just you're dying to get out of it. So I jumped on the first opportunity to get back with all the guys, and to get back on TV and to get back in front of people's faces.
Speaking of jumping opportunities, before you came back to Ring of Honor, you actually went down to CMLL, and you've been one of the few Ring of Honor guys who goes down there. And just recently, your banner is flying from the rafters at Arena Mexico.
Yeah, I know. How crazy is that?
What is that like, and how did you get this opportunity? You're, like I said, we see a lot of CMLL guys in Ring of Honor, and we see New Japan guys and Ring of Honor guys, but you're one of the few Ring of Honor guys in CMLL.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Ring of Honor CMLL relationship will continue to kind of grow, and there'll be more guys to go down there. But I love, being the first one to kind of represent the company and to constantly be going down there. I love going down to Mexico. But that was another crazy thing where it's just like I had a date set to come back, and the Kingdom was all set, ready to go, and it was like, all right, October 1st, that'll be the day you come back. And that's kind of 9.5 months after surgery, and the earliest realistic date that my surgeon gave me after both the surgeries was, we're looking at about earliest 9 months. And I kept being like, I don't know, how about 6 months? And he just kept looking at me with a smile, like, okay. Cause the guy, that I ended up going to, he does surgeries, or he's worked with, a bunch of the Bruins and the Patriots, and he just knows how athletes can be. And we're stubborn, and we want to get back. And when someone tells us one thing, we're like, nah, I don't think you know who I am. I'm sure I can do it quicker than that. But he let me be delusional for a while, and he just kept being like, all right, you can shoot for that, but I think more 9 months, and as time went by, I was like, well, you're absolutely right. It's definitely not going to be 6 months. But so I had this date in my mind, October 1st, to come back to Ring of Honor, and I got a phone call one day saying that CMLL was looking for a guy to come down, and they were interested in me from before, and kind of things had gotten delayed in the process of kind of the working relationship with Ring of Honor and CMLL, just for getting everyone's, visas for guys coming up and guys going down. And they had interest in me before, and now, like, that they wanted to finally get it going, they were wondering, like, if I was ready to go. And I remember looking at the calendar and thinking, like, all right, this is like 3 weeks before I was thinking of coming back. And I was doing rehab with the guys down at the Brigham and Women's down at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, where obviously the Patriots are. Mm-hmm. And I remember coming in there, and I was like, all right, new plan. I want to go to Mexico. Let's ramp everything up. Do you think I would be ready by, I think it was like September, the second week of September? And I remember, the guy, my PT at the time, saying, well, if you want it, let's do it. And I was in there every day, just kind of, going at it, pushing that knee, seeing how I was recovering. And I'm not going to lie, I was petrified, because I was, the school had started. Me and Mike Bennett run a school down in Rhode Island called the Wrestling Kingdom. So I was able to roll around in the ring a little bit there, and I think it was just obviously more mental. There was a lot of things that I don't think I was mentally prepared to do. A lot of the stuff that I used to do in the ring, involved a lot of jumping and doing things that are risky, especially coming back from an ACL injury. And I just kind of mentally wasn't ready to do them, and that date was getting closer and closer and closer, and finally it was like, well, it's all or nothing. And I ended up, here I am in Arena Mexico, walking down the steps, doing something that I've wanted to do since I was a little kid, knowing the Jerichos and all the guys that I used to idolize as as a kid and a teen watching wrestling, had walked down that same ramp and had been in that same arena. And I'm like, well, here I am, and literally just kind of went for it. And a lot of the stuff that I used to do, from the the lion salts and the stuff off the top rope and the dives to the outside, I hadn't practiced before that day in Arena Mexico, and kind of just went for it. And I remember sitting there after that match, and my knee was definitely sore, and that was a whole nother situation, because you can't really just get ice freely in Mexico. So I was buying these 5-pound blocks of ice every night at like the CVS, and having to put that on my leg as I went to sleep after every match. But it was like, after that first match, I was like, wow, I'm okay. Like, I'm back. And from then on, what a trial by fire that was for my knee. It was like 9 matches in the first 13 days down there. And, after that was all done, I was like, hey, man, there's no bigger test of your knee than that last, stretch of matches you just did. Like, we are back. We're ready to go. And it helped, because when I was ready to come back to Ring of Honor, I had absolute zero fear of my knee being anything but 100%, which it probably still wasn't 100%, but mentally I was ready to jump in the ring and do whatever I used to do and more with my knee, with 100% confidence. So it was a wild ride, and going down to Mexico, into a place where you don't know anyone, and you're just kind of thrown in the situation, and you're wondering if your knee's going to hold up. It was pretty intense, but at the end of the day, it was like just such an incredible experience, because A, I got to live a goal that I wanted to do, forever, and B, I knew that from that point forward, I didn't have to worry about the injury that had cost me 9 months of my career.
What was it like? How do you call a match when you don't speak the language?
I mean, and that's a thing that we ran into in Japan a lot too. But wrestling's kind of an international language. A lot of the stuff you can pantomime and kind of walk through. And I obviously know a little bit more Spanish than I know Japanese, that's for sure. But, a lot of the guys can speak some broken English as well. But there was a couple of things that were just, it was just like, it throws you off so much, because they say suplex. And so you're thinking, all right, suplex. And that actually is like a right-handed arm drag. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things, even from locking up, they lock up on the opposite side. And so I can remember a couple, like, the first night went really well. And then, like, nights 2 and 3 were just, I was trying to learn in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure things out. So there's a little bit rocky start after that first night, but that was more of just getting used to the style and like how things would be different there. As far as like the formats of the match, they're so different, and everything's 2 out of 3 falls, and
Not tagging.
what
That's gotta be weird.
that's insane. And like the heels will all get in the ring, and then I'm looking around like, well, I need to jump in there, and the baby faces are taking a knee at ringside, and you're like, okay, well, this is different. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, and it was a little bit of kind of a culture shock where it comes to the wrestling. So now when I go down there, I laugh because I'm like used to the things that when I went down there the first time, I was just kind of looking around like deer in the headlights, and it's crazy, but you can pick it up quickly. And the biggest thing for me was that everyone down there at CMLL was looking out for me, and I wanted to help. The Marco Corleones, Mark Jindrak, Sam Adonis, they immediately kind of were helping me out, and not only giving me the heads up on how things work down there, but then also they knew I was down there by myself, so showing me around Mexico City and taking me out and showing me a couple of different places, where I can find gyms and stuff was a huge help. There was a bunch of guys down there, Titan and Ultimo Guerrero, and all those guys helped me out so much that it made being down there go from I felt like a man on a planet by himself, not knowing anyone down there, to within the first couple of days, I was like, oh, I love this place. And it's helped every time I've gone down there that, I can go down there by myself and know that I'm absolutely fine, know how to get everywhere, how to, do everything, because those first couple of days, everyone down there helped me out so much that now it's like a second home.
Yeah, speaking of which, by the way, you've been hooking me up with amazing segues the entire time. You're going to be heading down to Mexico, so you won't actually be traveling with Ring of Honor on the War of the Worlds tour in the UK, because you'll be heading down for the Grand Prix tournament.
Yeah.
What do you now? Obviously, it's got to be a little easier being in the tournament. It's single, so you don't have to worry about the weird tag situation. What are your thoughts going into that tournament?
Well, first off, I'm going down there for a 3-week tour, and I'll be down there for a good 2.5 weeks before the Grand Prix happens. And when I said yes to that, the dates for the UK tour hadn't been announced yet. So it kind of was like, oh man, I'm going to miss the UK tour. But at the same time, I've wanted to be a part of the Grand Prix. It's such a, it's a unbelievable match, and it's just so intricate, and I've watched it before and thought like, wow, this is intense, because it's just such a long elimination style match. But at the same time, I haven't been to the UK since before my knee surgery, so hopefully I can get back there soon, whether it's with Ring of Honor or another promotion in the United Kingdom. I was like, oh man, I miss the UK. So hopefully I'll be back there soon. But at the same time, I love going down to Mexico, so I'm pumped to go down there for the 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, I should say. And ending with the Grand Prix is going to be phenomenal. And obviously my goal is to win it. There's guys like Alex Shelley, who have won it in the past. Foreigners that have gone down there and won the Grand Prix are few and far between. And to add that to my resume is just, another thing that you can always say, you can take to the grave with you. Matt Taven won the CMLL Grand Prix, and there's a very short list of, U.S. born athletes that have gone down there and done that. So that's obviously my goal. And at the same time, Marco Corleone's the heavyweight champion down there. I've always had my eyes on that, and I would love to, throw my name in the contendership ring down there. And I pride myself on going down there and showing the people of Mexico what Matt Taven's all about to make them want me to come back the next time. And it's been successful every time I've gone down there. And I'm hoping that, I know that this tour is going to be, more of the same. And it'll just set up the next time I get to go back down and go back down and go back down because, I love it down there and I love CMLL and this relationship that we have at Ring of Honor is something special, and I'm glad that I'm a part of it.
How do you find working heel down there? A lot of what you're able to do is kind of like pick on the fans and irritate them a little bit, right, and be offensive. How does that work when you're down there with the language barrier?
Well, it kind of worked naturally, and not to, whatever, I can say whatever I want about myself.
Yeah.
Not to be too arrogant, but when I first went down there, I kind of was just, they were kind of seeing how the fans reacted to me, and the female fans reacted to me very well, which obviously made the male fans not like me as much. So it kind of just worked itself out where, the first couple of times I was down there, I was getting more of a babyface reaction, and then the more and more I would come through the curtain and you would hear, the octave level of the screams be a lot higher than they normally are because it was mostly females screaming. It would make the men start booing. And then once I was in there doing singles matches with guys like Rush and Ultimo Guerrero, a lot of those male fans that, probably had a little bit of jealousy of who's this guy coming down here and now my girlfriend's screaming for him, they would boo me and they would chant Mexico, Mexico. So it got real easy to kind of turn things around and be like, oh, that's how it is, huh? And then just the normal arrogant Matt Taven came out, and I'm kissing 80-year-old women in the front row and just standing up on top of the CMML announce table, just screaming at these people, telling them how much better I am than them. And it's just it was another day at the office. It's the same Matt Taven that you see down. Or you see in Ring of Honor, it works the same way down in Mexico, it just once you get that kind of visceral hate, especially from a male audience, at this point I can just stand in the middle of the ring and smirk and know those boos are coming. So, thank you, ladies. You've made my career in Mexico a lot easier.
What you're pretty young into your career still.
I love to think that.
How is it? What's it like being a trainer at your own school? Where you're really still in the prime of your career.
I mean, it's great, to be honest with you, because for me, a lot of the times, I'm kind of working out a lot of stuff that I want to try here and there, and I can do it because I have the ability to kind of roll in the ring whenever I want. You know what I mean? I can just drive down the school and open the doors and kind of be, all right, who wants to roll around with me? I kind of want to, test this out or get some of the ring rust off if I, especially after the knee surgery. But at the same time, the Spike Dudley School, it had such a good system from guys like Ryan Waters, who's another trainer down there, to Nick Steele, who was another trainer there. It was a mix of obviously Spike with all his knowledge, and then other guys that were a little bit younger that kind of had a different style, and it was just a mix. It was like this big brainstorming community where you got all these different aspects, and that's kind of what I always wanted the school to be. And I mean, I'd like to think I'm young in my career, but I've been doing this for 9 years now. And, Bennett's been doing it since he was in the womb. So he's been, he's got like 15 years of experience. And I'm like, how is that even legal? But, so with me and Bennett, and then, we have Vinny and then TK always popping around. And it's like, you see it from so many different aspects. TK's that, the young kid that wants to do everything and wants to try all these different styles. And, me and Bennett have been around the block a little bit, and Vinny's character, he can, show you so much. But at the same time, I think one of the best part of the schools is from Bennett obviously being in WWE now and formerly in TNA, and from me being, in Ring of Honor and all over the indie scene in the past, and then obviously doing international stuff in Japan and Mexico. and then obviously all the other guys having connections, we were able to bring so many people into the school to kind of help seminars, one day stuff, come in, come out, or, if they want to stick around for the week, our buddies, Cody's been there, Zack Sabre Jr.'s been in there, Paul London's been in there, we've had Dave Lagana come in, and we just constantly have fresh voices, fresh eyes come into the school, because, the cliche of wrestling is like ice cream and everyone likes a different flavor. Couldn't be any more true, and wrestling, from doing the stand-up stuff this past weekend, wrestling's so much like every other form of entertainment. Not everyone likes the same stand-up or the same art, and something that a guy might critique you on, you might think is completely, your character might think completely differently, or you just don't agree with what he's saying. And that's why I always say, no matter what anyone tells you in wrestling, you kind of have to take it all in and decide what fits you the best. So we try to have as many different voices come into the school, and at the same time, you're always learning, and I learn from the students, seeing like their ideas on things, how they look at wrestling, what their thoughts on characters and what their thoughts on matches are. And then obviously when other guys come in and do seminars, I sit there as well along with the students to listen, because as much as these guys are my peers, they see wrestling from their own eyes, which might be different than mine, and they might have a little tricks of the trade that I haven't stumbled across yet. So the school is what I've always wanted to be, as like this big think tank where everyone can kind of come in there and everyone helps each other out, and that's something that I always push the students to do whenever we do promos or matches. I don't say a word. As soon as everything's done, I say, okay, as a group, what do we think? And everyone gives their opinion, and then I'll chime in, or Mike will chime in, and Vinny and TK as well. But, I think that's how you learn. You learn from other people. You learn from watching and listening, and, and you never stop doing that. So the school's been nothing but a blessing to me. And,
now TK's coming back, presumably soon. You recently also earned a Ring of Honor championship opportunity against Christopher Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as your goals moving forward for Ring of Honor and just your career in general?
Well, you never know what's going to happen in the wrestling business. It's such like a crazy world where whether it's your mom or your girlfriend asking you, what's going to happen after this, you're like, well, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens after this. But as far as the immediate goals in Ring of Honor, obviously we weren't done with those 6-man tag titles. We had a long road ahead of us that we had planned, and we want to see that follow through. We want to see that come to fruition. So we want those back. As soon as TK's back and healthy, our sights are set on those 6-man tag titles. We took pride in being the first ever 6-man tag champions, and we wanted to be the only ones to ever hold those belts as long as possible. But unfortunately, injuries happen, so now it's time to get our stuff back. At the same time, there's only one belt that I've never won in Ring of Honor, and that's the world title. And whether it's Cody Rhodes or whoever else might have it, I will always have my eyes and my sights set on that Ring of Honor world title. I want to be the first ever Grand Slam champion in Ring of Honor history, and hopefully the only one to ever pull that off. And I don't see my career done in Ring of Honor until that belt's around my waist.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Do you have any social media you'd like to plug so the fans can check you out?
Of course. If you know how to spell Taven, which is Taven, you can find me on any social media. Matt Taven on Facebook, Matt Taven on Twitter, the Matt Taven on Instagram, Pro Wrestling Tees Matt Taven, Matt Taven at Gmail. If you have any, if you need to hit me up about merchandise or bookings, and what else? Oh, and then obviously the school, the XWA Wrestling Kingdom is in Warwick, Rhode Island, 3 Bridal Ave. If you have any questions about the school or are interested, you can email me at mattaven@gmail as well. But, if you know how to spell Taven, like I said, you can find me. And obviously I post and keep up to date with everywhere I'm going and what I have coming up next. And hopefully, if you find yourself at a small comedy club and me and Dalton Castle are in the area, maybe you'll be able to catch next Boys Night Out.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, man.
All right. Just want to thank Matt Taven once again for coming on the show and spending his time with us. It was really enlightening and interesting to hear about the different things that are going on in his career right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, great hearing the conversation with you guys, and it was definitely entertaining.
All right. So with all that out of the way, just want to remind you guys that we're brought to you in partnership with pwponderings.com, Last Word on ProWrestling.com and ROHWorld.com. We're featured on the Wrestling to the Max network. You can check us out on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, anywhere really you get your podcasts. Make sure that you subscribe, rate, and review. We really appreciate it. The support that's been you guys have been giving us has been really noticeable. So do us a favor and leave those reviews, all right? Send us an email over at runningwildpodcast.com for any kind of feedback. If you don't believe that we deserve a 4 or 5 star rating, give us a heads up. Tell us why. And, we'd like to address any of those issues. If you have anything you want us to just talk about in the show or any trivia, please make sure to send it there. You can also follow us on Twitter at RunningWildLWOS. You can follow my stuff over at the aforementioned websites and follow me on Twitter at Rich_Laconi, where I cover Ring of Honor really exclusively. And with all that out of the way, just want to remind you guys that you've been listening to the podcast that is just too sweet.